Kia has been on a roll, changing its brand image with models like the luxurious K900 and the sporty Stinger. Now it's time to bring some of that DNE down market to the brand's compact sedan, the Forte. I'm Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I am on the first drive event here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the all-new 2019 Kia Forte. As we can see already, just from looking at this car on the outside, it bears a striking resemblance to the sporty Kia. Although I don't want to get too crazy and buy Kia's words, I do see a lot of Stinger DNA in the taillights. You have that connected rear taillight design that was clearly influenced by the Stinger. You've got those sporty looking 17-inch wheels on this model. I've been driving around the EX Launch Edition, which is the priciest of all of the Forte models, although still pretty affordable, as I'll tell you later. And then up front we can clearly see some Stinger DNA. It has the new Kia corporate grille that was first seen on the Stinger and is now on most of Kia's models, if not all of them. I think this is a really, really handsome car. I'll try and show you with the lights on. I think it looks even better with the DRLs turned on. And the big story here is value. I think that this car is going to be a great value for a lot of people. Kia says that a lot of first-time buyers are going to be looking at this Forte, and I do not blame them. So under the hood sits a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 147 horsepower and 132 foot-pounds of torque. Those aren't in crazy insane numbers, but again, this is not a class of really, really sporty vehicles, so that's not too bad. With 147 horsepower, you're going to get excellent gas mileage, 31 mpg in the city, 41 mpg on the highway, and around 35 combined. I've been driving like a bit of a lunatic, but I've still averaged about 31 mpg on this drive. There's also a manual option, only on the base model, unfortunately. So if you like to have a lot of options and row your own gears, you're going to have to settle for the base FE with the manual transmission. That starts at around $17,690. You can get a manual. It's going to hurt your fuel economy. You'll only get 27 in the city, 37 on the highway, and around 31 combined. This model that we have here is the new CVT. Now, this is the first ever CVT used in a Hyundai Kia product. It was developed in-house. I'm going to talk a little bit about it later when I go out and drive this car. A lot of people are going to bemoan the fact that they got rid of the 6-speed and went for a CVT, but I think this is one of the best CVTs I have ever driven, and I do mean that. Alright, so now I'm going to step on the inside where it's pretty spacious on the inside. This is 80 millimeters longer than the outgoing Forte. It's also wider as well. The interior is really, really nice on this car. Like I said, we have the EXL trim is what we've been driving, which is EX Launch Edition. This one's a little bit different than the production Launch Edition that you'll be able to buy. There are different wheels. It'll be basically these same wheels, although they'll be in gray, and the only color on the Launch Edition is going to be orange. And there's a couple features I'll talk about that are key on this Launch Edition. And even fully loaded as we have it here, it's only going to be $25,200, which is pretty good considering all of the standard kit that you get. So now I'm going to come in and step inside, where a lot of that Stinger DNA carries over. This screen looks very, very familiar to anybody who's been in a Stinger recently. Down here we have dual zone automatic climate control standard on every single Forte model. That is fantastic. We have keyless entry. I'm going to go ahead and start it up. Unfortunately, that's only available on a couple of the high trim models. They do not make that a standard option, which is a bit unfortunate. I wish that they would maybe make that more of, towards the base models. Unfortunately, not all of the models have that. We do have these nice, clear, concise black with white gauges. You have a little helper screen here. You can have your fuel economy, your map information. We do have built-in navigation here on this top trim, but even if you don't get it, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard. We have some of our driver assistance functions. This car is pretty darn loaded when it comes to safety features. Kia says that all Fortes are going to come standard with things like lane keep assist and forward collision warning. We have blind spot monitoring as well. We also have active lane keep assist. So if you take your hands off the wheel, you can start to see it moving by itself, although it will beep and tell you to put your hands back on the wheel. We also have adaptive cruise, although it does not bring you to a full stop. It shuts off at about 20 or so miles an hour. The materials in here are all pretty nice. You know, this isn't like a that high of a class of car, so most of the cars in this segment don't have super luxurious materials, but Kia does an amazing job of making these cheap materials look and feel pretty good. There are a couple of hard touch plastic zones, but this is softer. Down here is pretty soft as well. There are plenty of soft touch zones. The steering wheel is this nice, I doubt that it's real leather, but it feels like it really nice. These leather seats that we have actually aren't real leather, they're man-made, but they're really, really nice. And if you go for anything above the XE trim, or EX trim, excuse me, you will get ventilated seats as well as heated seats. That is one of the only cars in this entire segment that has that, and they do work a treat on a hot day. I think the Volkswagen Jetta may be the only other car in this segment that even offers those. So fantastic on Kia for offering that as an available feature on this car. We also have the key wireless charging over here if you have a phone that'll accept that, and there's plenty of storage space. You also have a lower storage area here, so on a small car like this, to have that much storage to put your keys and your phone and other stuff is absolutely great. I love how Kia utilizes the space here. There's also a sunroof on this car. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the pricing. For that, I'm going to get out of the car, and I'm going to take a moment just to show you the key fob here. It is strikingly resembling the Stinger key, which is very, very cool. It's not circular up the top, but it is kind of like that detonator shifter that we loved on the Stinger. Very, very cool. So now let's talk about pricing. As I mentioned a little earlier, the base FE with a manual transmission is $17,690. Very affordable for somebody buying a first car. The automatic transmission is going to run you $18,590, so about $1,000 more. The LXS trim is $19,990. The S trim, which I've seen a couple of them on this launch, is $20,190. And then the trim that you're going to want to look at is the EX trim. I think that is the best value. That is $21,990. That's going to get you the leatherette seats, heated and ventilation. You're going to get that smart key like we have. You're also going to get a smart trunk, where if you hold the key and walk up to the car with the trunk closed, it will open automatically. And then there's that EX launch trim, which is what we are driving here right now. That's $25,200. That is the priciest, although you do get adaptive cruise control, a sunroof, you get LED running lights, you get that wireless charger, and the built-in nav. So I would say a good way to save a little over $3,000 is to get that EX trim, because it comes basically how I like it, but this EX launch edition is very nice as well. I'm going to show you the back seat, which is pretty darn roomy. I haven't really had a chance to use it all that much, but I am going to sit back here and show you how it feels. Sitting behind myself, even in this small car, I have plenty of knee room. I have plenty of headroom as well. There is an air vent back here, which is pretty nice on a compact car like this. Now I'm going to get out. I'll show you, I believe there's also an armrest here that folds out and has two basic cup holders. Now I'm going to show you the trunk, which is pretty darn big. If I can find the opening for it. There it is. You can see in there. It's pretty darn big. It does have 60-40 folding rear seats, and you just pull these little tabs to get those to go down. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and take it on the road and tell you how that 2-liter engine matches with that CVT transmission, and whether or not this is a car that enthusiasts are going to actually want to drive. Okay, so I was invited here to Pittsburgh to drive this Kia Forte, and I've been driving around all day, and my driving impressions overall are extremely positive of this compact sedan. Now, it's not going to blow you away with power or ride and handling or any of those sort of things. It's not really that type of car. This is much in line with a Civic or a Corolla or an Elantra, but I think that it does a lot of things better than a lot of those cars. So here are the big changes. This is an all-new car, but the big change here is this CVT automatic transmission. The old second-generation Kia Forte had a 6-speed automatic, so how does that differ? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to get really darn good fuel economy using this CVT. However, one of the big problems with CVTs is they moan and they groan, and they don't really feel like an automatic when you really mash the throttle. And I've driven a lot of CVTs recently that kind of fix that problem, where they kind of feel like gears when you're driving it normally, and then when you really get on it, you know, you start to feel that it's a CVT. I'm gonna give it a little throttle mash here over some rough pavement, and I promise you, it sort of just feels like the gears happen to just be really long. So when you floor it from a stop, again, this is not a very, very fast car, so it kind of just feels like it winds out, and it just kind of feels like you're going through some really long gears. I'm going to try it one more time. There you go. See, when it finally does reach the top of the RPM range, it really does sound like it's simulating a gear. This is one of the best CVTs that I have driven. I am deeply impressed by it. It has 7 faux gears. I've put it in its manual mode here and shifted through them that way too, and I genuinely think that this is one of the closest CVTs I've ever felt to feeling like a true automatic. So that's very good on Kia's part that they were able to do that on their first go. Good for you, Kia. I'm very proud of this transmission. There is a 6-speed manual option as well. I haven't driven it. It's only available on the base trim, so I can't imagine that it's really that fun of a manual. Kia says the take rate's going to be only around 5%, so you can go ahead and try and find one of those at your local dealer, although, to be honest, this is not a very fast car, and I don't think that the 6-speed manual is going to add all of that much enjoyment to it. The steering is very, very light. It's really easy to maneuver around tight back roads, around parking spots, all of that. I like the steering. It's not the most involving that I've driven, but it's nowhere near a snooze fest either. We had some fun roads on our route here in Pittsburgh, and you do get some genuine steering feel. I put it in sport mode. I think it gets a little heavier. It's kind of hard to tell. Kia has sort of done away with that whole gimmick of where the steering would get really heavy when you put it in sport mode. But yeah, I really like the steering weight. I think most people are going to be very, very happy with it. I could even tolerate this as an enthusiast who really likes good steering feel. I think it feels pretty darn good. Another point of contention might be the torsion beam rear suspension. So instead of having an independent rear suspension, it's just a beam across the rear axle, and you start to notice it when the roads get really crappy. And Kia must have been really confident that they built a really, really comfortable car here, because Pittsburgh has some doozies of roads that are really torn up, really terrible, big potholes, and when you go over the biggest of potholes, you start to feel the car shake and shimmy a little bit. Not too bad. It's nothing terrible. I would never complain too much about it, but you do notice it when you're over really, really rough pavement. If you live somewhere where there's smooth roads, I think the ride of this car is actually fantastic. It rides like a class above. It's a compact car, so it competes against cars like the Civic and Elantra, but I think this rides as well as a Sonata or even an Optima or, you know, a Camry. I think it rides that well. It's very, very smooth on the highway, very quiet as well. This CVT does not really have a lot of moaning and groaning when you're at highway speeds. I really do like the way this car feels. The seats that I'm sitting in on this top trim are these leatherette. They're not real leather, but it's a nice material. I think it's fine. It feels very durable, and
The good thing about it is there's a little bit of bolstering. It's nothing crazy. It's not a sport seat by any stretch of the imagination, but it holds you in nice over corners, and I would be happy to sit in this car for a really long period of time. And as I mentioned earlier, if you get the EX trim or above, you're going to get heated and ventilated seats, which is not the only car in this class that does that, but one of the only cars that does that. And that makes this car an incredible value. I think that this Forte represents one of the best values in this class right now. I think it looks good on the outside. I love the interior design. I love how I have all of this storage space for all of my stuff. And the way it drives is pretty good as well. So in my short time with the Forte, I know I haven't had it too long. I am deeply, deeply impressed with it, and I'm going to give it a recommendation of must buy. I think if you're looking for a compact sedan and you want something affordable that's going to give you those features to make you feel like you just bought a luxury car, this is the car for you. And if you're, a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old and you're shopping for your first wheels and you have about $22,000, oh my goodness, the amount of stuff that you're getting in this is ridiculous for a first car. So I would be genuinely happy to have this as a first car. I think it's great, and that's why it gets a recommendation of must buy from me. And if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, subscribe to the Car Buzz Unboxing YouTube channel, and be sure to follow us on all of the social media platforms, including Instagram and Twitter, and be sure to download our app on iOS and Android to keep up with all of the latest and greatest in automotive news, and to read all of our reviews, like my full written review of this 2019 Kia Forte. Hope you've enjoyed the video. See you next time.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another one. If you are new to the channel, I'm Gold Pony, and today we are in the new 2020 Chevy Impala, courtesy of Turner Chevrolet in Harrisburg, PA. And so, okay, you guys, word is this is going to be the very last year for the Impala, so there has been no better time to pick one up off the showroom floor than it is right now, since this is the final year. And actually, there's plenty of changes for the 2020 Impala as well, so we'll be going over all of them in this video. So what do you say? Let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so let's start with the first change. There is no LS trim level for the 2020 Impala. It starts with the LT, the one we have today, starting at $32,495, and then you have the Premier starting at $37,595. But regardless of trim level, power plant for the 2020 Impala will actually be the same. Powering this beast is going to be a 3.6 liter naturally aspirated V6, putting out 305 horsepower at 6,800 RPM, 264 pound-feet of torque available at 5,200 RPM. Power is sent to the front wheels through a 6-speed automatic, giving you a 0 to 60 time approximately 6.7 seconds, which you guys know we will be testing out a little bit here. MPG numbers coming in at 18 in the city, 28 on the highway. That is kind of impressive for the size of the Impala, actually. But having said all that now, I think you guys know what we have to do next. Let's do a quick little acceleration test, and let's see how quickly we can get the new 2020 Impala here up to speed. Here we go. Yep, best word I could use to describe that acceleration was super smooth. I guess that's 2 words, isn't it? But yeah, it's certainly enough pickup to merge onto the highway or anything like that, but dang, that was a smooth acceleration. It kind of reminds me of a Hyundai V6 or even the Camry V6. Definitely one of the advantages to NA engines. You get that super smooth acceleration, and the Impala is no exception. Definitely very nice acceleration. There was no loss of grip either. There was no spinning, even though this is a front-wheel drive vehicle, so well done, Chevy, for that. And so, but anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so you will find, of course, 4-wheel disc brakes on the 2020 Impala. As far as the braking feel goes, it's been perfectly fine to me. A very smooth braking feel, if you will, but yeah, definitely no issues with brake pedal delay or anything like that. And as far as suspension and handling goes, up front you will get a McPherson strut front suspension, in the back a 4-link rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars. And as far as ride quality goes, that is probably one of the first things I noticed when I hopped into the Impala. It is super smooth, definitely absorbing PA's road imperfections very nicely in my drive today. So very nice, very smooth ride to the Impala without a doubt. Touching on steering feel, it is pretty much as expected. I would say it probably leans towards the looser side of steering, but certainly not bad though. Wouldn't mind a little heavier of a feel to it, but definitely works well for the Impala. As far as cabin noise goes, it has been absolutely great. Very little exterior noises coming into the cabin. I do have the windshield defroster on right now, so if you do hear any noises, that's probably what you're hearing, but very little exterior noises coming into the cabin, so that is definitely on point with the Impala. And the thing is, Impala has definitely been around for a while now, so Chevy has had more than enough time to perfect this car. So at this point, in the very last year they're going to be making it, this car is just about as perfect as it is going to get, so that's definitely a plus there. As far as the visibility goes, I can see perfectly fine out the back. Certainly definitely no issues there, so well done for visibility there. And we actually do have an optional blind spot monitoring system on this one as well, found in the side mirrors, and optional for the LT, but it is going to come with the Premier. But I'll get a little more into safety later in the video. But essentially what I'm saying is visibility overall is very nice. But that about rounds out the performance segment of this review. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of this new and final 2020 Chevy Impala. All right, and here she is, you guys, the 2020 Chevy Impala, the final year. Let's go ahead and start by taking a look up front here. The only difference as far as body styling wise up front versus the LT versus Premier is you will find 2 additional chrome bars in the lower portion of the front grille if you were to go with the Premier. Otherwise, you will get what you are currently looking at right now with our LT that we have here today. As far as the headlight setup goes, halogen headlights are going to come with the LT trim level. They will, of course, come with the automatic feature, meaning when it starts to get dark out at night, they're going to turn on automatically for you there. Also, LED daytime running lights just below. They will come standard on both trim levels. And if you did jump up to the Premier trim level, you will find HID headlights up front up there as well. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the side. First thing I wanted to mention to you guys is chrome window surrounds will come standard on both trim levels, of course. Impala lettering found on both the driver and passenger side front doors. That's always a very high-end look to it. Speaking of high-end looks, this has always been there. I love this accent, this Impala logo on the back C-pillar of the Impala. It definitely looks very nice. It makes it kind of stand out back there, so I am glad that Chevy has kept that through all these years. As far as the side mirrors go, let me jump up to the front here. Body colored power adjustable heated side mirrors will come standard with integrated turn signals, and all of that is standard on both trim levels actually. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the wheel setup. 18-inch alloy wheels with the LT, 19-inch aluminum alloy wheels with the Premier. And I do believe that about rounds out the side of the Impala. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the back. You will have that shark fin antenna located up top there, of course. Of course, making our way to the back, you will have trim level badging found on the right side there on the trunk. Rear spoiler is going to actually be optional on both trims. However, it will not come standard on either trim, in case you were curious about that. And just below it all, dual exhaust outlets, and you will get brushed chrome tips if you were to go with the Premier. Otherwise, if you went with the LT that we currently have today, you will simply find dual exhaust outlets. However, they will be tucked away underneath, in case you were curious. But nonetheless, you guys know what we have to do next. As always, here is that exhaust clip. And so, but now since we are around back, as far as opening that rear trunk goes, there's a couple different ways. There is a button on the key fob, so simply go ahead and use that if you like. That's what I found to be the easiest. There is also a button by the driver's side left knee. That is yet another way you can go about opening that rear trunk. But once opened up, there is a ton of space back there. Cargo capacity is going to come in at 18.8 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, however, it should be, there is a 60-40 split, meaning the rear seats do fold down for quite a bit of extra space in addition to that, if you needed it. Then would also mention in that cargo area, there is some LED lighting. I found that pretty cool. And there is a little bit of in-floor storage underneath that cargo floor as well, in case you needed it. But Make our way up to the rear legroom. That is going to come in at 39.8 inches. Very impressive once again. For reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I have back there. And for those rear passengers, I did want to also mention they do have a rear center armrest with cup holders back there. In addition to that, rear ventilation as well. Rear ventilation is one of those things that definitely doesn't often come standard in sedans. Well, sometimes it does, but it is always nice having it since it does not always come standard in sedans. But make our way up to the front seats. 8-way power driver's seat with a cloth finish will come with the LT, and it is kind of actually a mixture. It's a cloth leather mixture, so that is what you are currently looking at right now. However, if you were to go with the Premier trim, that is going to actually add an 8-way power adjustable passenger seat, heated front seats as well, and a perforated leather finish. And ventilated seats are also available as an option as well. We do actually have heated seats today as an option. They are located just behind the shifter there, so that's what you were currently looking at right there. But now let's take a look at the steering wheel. There is a tilt and telescoping steering wheel. It is leather wrapped for both trim levels, and it is available as an option. A heated steering wheel is available actually for both trim levels if you wanted to go that route. And when it comes to the startup, let me first start by showing you guys the key here. You do have your Chevy logo on the one side, and when you flip it over, lock, unlock, that button to pop the rear hatch, and there actually is a remote start as well. That's a little circular button, but what I am going to do is simply just put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located just by the driver's right knee there. And so, but then once started up, tachometer is on your left, speedometer is on your right, engine temp, fuel information is all the way to the top, and then front and center there is a digital display which can be controlled by using the steering wheel mounted controls on the right side of the steering wheel. That's going to give you things like a digital speedometer, trip A, trip B, of course, how many miles you have left until you hit empty, also your MPGs at any given time, oil life remaining, so that's kind of handy because you'll find you can actually wait a lot longer than you think when you need your actual next oil change, so that's pretty cool. Tire pressure monitoring system, and there's plenty of other stuff, of course, you could check out up there as well. And take a look at overall interior quality. Dual zone climate control is actually going to come standard with both trim levels. Wireless phone charger is going to come standard with the Premier. There is no sunroof for the LT. However, if you did want a sun or moonroof, a dual pane power sunroof is available for the Premier. And that is again for the Premier trim level only if you wanted to go that route. And I do like all the tan stitching found throughout, just above on the top here, also around the driver passenger armrest in the center. There's a lot of tannish orange stitching. It definitely makes it look very high end. Just in front of the shifter, you have a little rubberized cubby area so things don't slide around there. 12-volt power outlet. Just behind that, dual cup holders, and I like the finishes around the cup holders as well. It's a very nice design to it, and actually that design is carried around the window buttons on the doors as well, but it's a very cool design. Again, just behind that, you have some heated seat buttons, another little cubby area, and of course, a center armrest with a very, very bright light within that cargo area. I love that. A lot of times under that center armrest, there's no illumination, but there is in the Impala. That is very bright light too. That's pretty cool. And there's a little rubberized tray area there as well. And speaking of bright lights, there is LED interior lighting throughout the Impala as well. I mentioned it in the cargo area, but it actually continues to the rear seats and the front seats as well. So that was pretty cool to find that too. But let's go ahead and make our way to the tech display on this one. 8-inch color touchscreen display will come standard with both trim levels. Bluetooth and audio streaming also standard. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, same thing for both trim levels. And that's really nice because if you have a smartphone, simply hook it up to the Impala. Therefore, you have free navigation through your smartphone, as well as the ability to like and dislike your Pandora songs. There's a couple other compatible apps you could check out as well up on that screen. So that's definitely a plus. If you wanted a factory navigation system, although you don't really need it with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, if you go with the Premier, that will come standard with the Premier trim level. And of course, you can check out your radio settings up there as well. And by the way, when it comes to the sound system, you will find a 6-speaker sound system with the LT trim level. However, if you go with the Premier, you will find an 11-speaker Bose surround sound system. But that is, of course, not the one we have today since we have the LT. So let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing this morning, and let's test out the 6-speaker sound system that we have here in our LT. Actually, not that bad, you guys. I feel like I was gonna lose my sunglasses there, but dang, that sound system was all right, especially considering it was this regular 6-speaker sound system. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have a problem with that. That was just fine for me, at least. But anyways, last thing on the tech display I wanted to mention to you guys is when you do put the Impala in reverse, you will find a rear view camera letting you know who or what is behind you, which is always going to lead us into safety. So starting with safety, there is front side and side curtain airbags, driver and passenger knee airbags as well. It definitely doesn't always come standard in sedans. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats. Also real child door locks back there as well. And I did want to mention, if you were to go with the Premier trim level, that is going to add a few things as well, including lane change alert with side blind zone alert, rear cross traffic alert, and rear park assist as well. Although I will say some of that is an option with the LT. We do have that blind spot monitoring system with the rear cross traffic alert here as well. And if you wanted that option with the LT, that is part of a driver confidence package that adds an additional $495. And so, but anyways, that is about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on social media at the bottom of the screen there if you like. Be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button if you're into new car reviews. That is what we do here on this channel after all. Do appreciate you guys watching more than you know, and I will see you guys all in the next video. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another one. If you were new to the channel, I am Gold Pony, and today we are in the new 2020 Chevy Tahoe, courtesy of Turner Chevrolet in Harrisburg, PA. And so at this point, I think it is safe to say that the Chevy Tahoe does have a timeless design. Definitely looks good. FBI car, of course, which is kind of cool in itself, but I think everybody already knows that. So as always, let's just jump right into it, and let's start with pricing. And so there will be a few different trim levels, of course, for the 2020 Chevy Tahoe. First one being the LS, starting at $49,295. Then you have the LT, which is the one we have today, starting at $54,295. And lastly, the Premier, that one is going to start at $63,995. And by the way, that was all pricing for the rear-wheel drive setup. If you wanted to go with the four-wheel drive setup, simply add $3,000 to any of those prices there. But so then when it comes to the power plant on the 2020 Tahoe, there is one standard engine setup and one optional engine setup. The standard one that we have today is going to be a 5.3 liter Ecotec 3 V8, putting out 355 horsepower, 5,600 RPM, 383 pound-feet of torque, available at 4,100 RPM. Power again sent to rear wheels or all wheels through a 6-speed automatic, giving you 16 in the city, 23 on the highway for the rear-wheel drive, and 15 city, 21 highway for the four-wheel drive. But so as I have mentioned, there is one additional optional engine setup only available for the Premier trim level, and that one is going to be a 6.2 liter V8, which by the way bumps the price up to $72,520, but that one is going to put out 420 horsepower at 5,600 RPM, 460 pound-feet of torque, available at 4,100 RPM. Power on that one only sent to all four wheels through the four-wheel drive system through actually a 10-speed automatic. That's going to be another major change with that engine setup, but MPG numbers on that one: 14 city, 22 highway. Towing capacity comes in at 8,100 pounds, in case you were curious, with a 0 to 60 time of 5.7 seconds, which I gotta admit is quite impressive on paper for the size of the Tahoe. But now, having said that, I think you guys know what we have to do next. We don't have that 6.2 liter, we do have the 5.3 liter. So as always, let's do a quick little acceleration, see how quickly we can get the new 2020 Tahoe here up to speed. Actually, it's got some get up and go. You're most definitely not going to have any issues merging onto the highway. I was kind of impressed, I gotta admit. The 5.3, well, it is a V8, but then again, it is a larger SUV, so I didn't know what to expect, honestly. But the V8 definitely pulls hard, without a doubt. But so as always, to go along with that acceleration, braking is equally important. And so as expected, you will find four-wheel disc brakes. When it comes to the braking feel, it's not bad. I do feel like at lower speeds when you hit the brake, it is a little bit squishy or spongy, I guess you could say, but when you're going at higher speeds coming to a quick stop, definitely no issues there. Then touching on suspension and handling a little bit, you will get a premium smooth ride suspension, Chevy calls it. That one's actually going to come with the LS and LT trim levels, and magnetic ride control is actually going to come standard with the Premier. The thing I like about that one is it actually monitors each wheel individually, kind of adjusting the suspension based on not only the road conditions, but your driving style as well. So that, therefore, is not only going to give you a smoother ride, but it's going to tighten up the suspension during heavy cornering as well, really giving you the best of both worlds. So I am always a big fan of the magnetic ride control. Love that technology. Also standard on the Tahoe is a limited slip rear differential, which of course helps keep the rear wheels moving in unison. Little extra traction there for you. And touching on ride quality, honestly, I can see no issues with going on long road trips in this thing. Definitely a relatively smooth ride. And of course, as you go up in the trim level, specifically the Premier, you're going to have an amazingly smooth ride. So that's definitely nice as well. Steering feel, it is as expected. It's a little bit on the loosey-goosey side, but again, you can expect that from usually larger SUVs like the Tahoe. So then touching on cabin noise a little bit, it is definitely a quiet cabin. I got the air on right now, but I guess if I turn that off, it gets even quieter. Really no outside air, no outside wind noise coming into the cabin, so very impressed there as well. Then touching on rear visibility a little bit, it is a little less visibility than I guess you could say a lot of other three-row SUVs. And I guess that's just because that third row kind of sits up a little higher in the back, but I can still see perfectly fine out the back. I really don't have any issues, but it's not going to be as much as, let's say, the Chevy Traverse. But I will say one thing I definitely do like about the Tahoe is it does offer a head-up display. It is available. We don't actually have it today, but that's essentially going to project your speed and speed limit onto the windshield, helping you keep your eyes better on the road. So that's going to be there for you too if you wanted it. But now I think it is time. Let's check out this timeless design once again, and let's make our way to the exterior on the 2020 Tahoe. And so to start up front, that front grille is actually going to differ slightly depending on the trim level. For example, the LS and LT trim levels are going to look the same. That is what you're currently looking at. And then if you went with the Premier trim level, you're going to get chrome horizontal bars up front. And if you went with the 6.2 liter optional engine setup for the Premier, you're going to get black horizontal bars. I guess that being the more of a sportier appearance to go with the sportier engine setup, if you will. But to the sides, halogen headlights will come with the LS and LT trim levels. They will come with the automatic feature, and you're going to get LED daytime running lights with that as well. If you went with the Premier, however, you will get HID headlights, and they will actually come with fog lights just below as well. Then make your way to the side. Roof rails are going to come standard on all trim levels, as well as rear privacy glass back there. Tahoe lettering can be found on both driver and passenger front doors. That's kind of a Chevy thing, whether it be Suburban or Traverse. Kind of an elegant look. I do like that. Power adjustable body colored side mirrors will come standard for all trim levels, and they will actually be heated as well. And if you wanted integrated turn signals in those side mirrors, simply go with the Premier trim level. Then take a look down at the wheel setup. 18-inch aluminum alloy wheels will come with the LS and LT. If you went with the Premier trim level, however, you will find 20-inch alloy wheels. Then make our way to the back. Rear spoiler with integrated brake light will come standard. Just underneath of that, the rear window wiper. This is unique to the Tahoe and Suburban actually as well, but usually that rear window wiper can be found kind of asphyxiated to that rear glass, which doesn't have quite as good of a look to it as the setup that the Tahoe and Suburban does. So I like how they tuck that rear window wiper up underneath the spoilers. Definitely a nice little design cue there. And just below it all, a single exhaust outlet, so you guys know what we have to do next, even though we're in an SUV. As always, here is that exhaust clip. And so, but now since we are around back to up in that rear hatch, there actually is a button on the key fob, so I'm just going to simply press that. Manual liftgate comes with the LS, power liftgate with the LT that we have today, and a hands-free liftgate if you went with the Premier trim level. And actually, to close it, all you need to do is just simply press one button once again. But once opened up, behind that third row, cargo capacity is going to come in at 15.3 cubic feet. Also behind that third row, there is a little bit of in-floor storage. Not a ton of room back there, but still enough room to store your guns or really smaller items, I guess you could say. Also, there was some grocery hooks back there as well, so that's always convenient. But when you fold that third row down, behind the second row, cubic feetness comes in at 51.7. With all rows folded, that comes in at 94.7 cubic feet. That is quite a bit of space. And if you went with the Premier trim level, actually you will find power folding rear seats as well. And that is going to be optional on the LT today, so that is why you have me showing it to you right now. I love that feature. It's pretty darn convenient. But make your way up to the rear legroom. Third row is going to come in at 24.8 inches. I gotta admit, this is probably definitely better left for small children, because 24.8 inches is actually less rear legroom than, let's say, the Chevy Camaro. And again, that third row does sit up a little higher, so people with larger legs are going to kind of feel like an awkward kind of position back there, let's say. But anywho, make your way to the second row legroom. That's much more manageable for an adult, coming in at 39 inches even, 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had back there. I did want to also mention you will find rear ventilation found on the roof for all 3 rows to keep everyone comfortable. Also, plenty of hookups. There's a 12-volt power outlet hookup in the 3rd row, and that continues to the 2nd row as well. And plenty of cup holders. And of course, this particular Tahoe that we have today does have optional rear heated seats as well, which is always a good thing. But then make your way to the front seats. LS trim level is going to give you cloth finishes. LT and Premier trim levels are going to give you a leather finish, and those front seats will be power adjustable with that leather finish as well. LT is going to add heated seats. Premier is going to add heated and ventilated front seats. But now taking a look at the steering wheel, it is tilt and telescoping, leather wrapped on every single trim level, and it will be power adjustable and heated if you went with the Premier. But now let me show you guys the key real quick here before we get to the startup. Chevy logo is going to be on the one side. On the other side, when you flip it over, lock, unlock, and again, there's 2 actually buttons to pop the rear hatch depending on how high you want that lift gate to raise up to. And that circular button in the middle, that's going to be a remote start, which is actually standard on every single trim level of the Tahoe. That's definitely quite nice. And then if you want with the Premier, you will find a push button start with keyless entry. Again, it is optional for the LT, so we do happen to have that today. So all I'm going to do is simply put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button there. And so, but then once started up, tachometer on your left, speedometer on your right, the gauges will do a full sweep. Always like that with Chevy. And there is a small digital display front and center to control what is on that digital display. There are actually steering wheel mounted controls on the right side there, giving you things like a digital speedometer, of course, trip A, trip B, how many miles you have left until you hit empty. There's your next oil change when that's needed, tire pressure for each individual tire, and a bunch of other things actually as well. But now let's take a look at overall interior quality. Universal home remote, meaning the garage door openers, that is going to come with the LT and Premier trim level. It's going to be located actually on the roof up there. Wireless phone charger is going to be found with the Premier. Power sunroof is available for the LT and Premier trim levels if you wanted that. Tri-zone climate control also standard. And again, plenty of hookups. The USB charging ports are actually going to be found up front here. It's going to be one just underneath the climate control settings there. And there's some storage just behind that as well. Just behind that, 2 cup holders, and in the center armrest here you will find a cell phone holder there. And this center armrest is definitely quite beefy. If you lift that up, you're going to find probably some of the most room for a cargo area in the center there that you've ever seen. There's 2 more USB charging ports, by the way, within that, some other storage trays, and a very, very deep cargo area there. So that's definitely quite nice. Also, when it comes to interior quality here, if you look up at the roof once again, there is not only an overhead sunglass holder that's pretty standard these days, but also a little school bus style rear mirror so you can spy on the rear passengers. So always like having that in 3-row SUVs as well. But now let's take a look at the tech display. 8-inch color touchscreen display is going to come standard on all trim levels, and all trim levels will give you Bluetooth and audio streaming as well as Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, meaning if you have a smartphone, simply hook it up to the Tahoe, and therefore you have free navigation through that smartphone, as well as the ability to like and dislike your Pandora songs as well. If you wanted the factory navigation, that's going to come standard with the Premier, and you can of course also check out your radio settings up there as well. By the way, when it comes to the sound system, 6 speakers will come with the LS. LT is going to bump that up to a 9-speaker Bose sound system. That's the one we have today. And the Premier is going to give you a 10-speaker Bose sound system, so you guys know what we have to do next. Let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. Oh my gosh, I'm dizzy. That was nuts. Definitely a good bit of loudness, a good bit of bass. I've never had any issues with the Bose sound system. I had one on one of my previous cars, never failed me, so big fan of Bose. Last thing I wanted to mention on that tech display is when you do put the Tahoe in reverse, you of course will find a rear view camera for every single trim level, letting you know who or what is behind you, which is always going to lead me into safety. And so to start, there are front, side, and side curtain airbags. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats. Also rear child door locks back there. If you went with the Premier, you're going to get lane change alert with side blind zone alert. Premier is also going to add front and rear park assist, but if you went with the LT trim level that we have today, or the Premier of course, you will get forward collision alert, lane keep assist with lane departure warning, and low speed forward automatic automatic braking. And so, but that is about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. It is a Lexus. It does have above average reliability according to Consumer Reports, which is a heck of a start. Lots of new standard safety as well for the 2021 RX. So I'll get more into that later in the video, of course. And so in this video, I will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, the steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, rear legroom, all of that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so there will be a few different configurations you can go with for the RX 350. First one being the base setup, starting at $45,170, RX 350 all-wheel drive for $46,570. Then there is the F Sport for $48,650, F Sport all-wheel drive for $50,050, Blackline Special Edition for $49,335, and Blackline Special Edition all-wheel drive for $50,735. But regardless of trim level that you go with, the power plant on the RX is going to be the same. Powering this beast is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6, putting out 295 horsepower at 6,300 RPM, 268 pound-feet of torque, coming in at 4,700 RPM, power sent to front wheels or all wheels through an 8-speed automatic with paddle shifters, which you guys know we will of course be testing out in a little bit here. 0 to 60 time comes in at approximately 7.3 seconds, with MPG numbers coming in at 20 in the city, 27 highway for the front wheel drive, 19 in the city, then 26 on the highway for the all-wheel drive. But so then before we do any kind of paddle shifter or acceleration test in the RX 350 here, I did want to mention the drive modes. Drive mode selector is going to be located directly behind the cup holders. They will include normal, eco, sport, and sport plus, adjusting things like the shift points, the throttle response, and the steering sensitivity as well. And so, having now rambled all of that off to you guys, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find a straightaway, and let's put the paddle shifters here to the test first. Did want to mention, if you push the shifter all the way to the back and to the left, that is going to give you that full manual shift mode, allowing me full control over the shifting. So therefore, that is what we are going to do. Let's find a straightaway. Let's see how quickly these paddle shifters will react for us here. All right, in 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa. Holy cow. All right, paddle shifters, there's a delay to them without a doubt. Didn't expect them to be quick reacting, quite honestly. This is a luxury SUV after all, but wow, that acceleration, that took me by surprise. This is the NAV6. I most definitely didn't expect that. I mean, NAV6s can be quick, but this was dang quick. Definitely not gonna have any issues with merging onto the highway. I guess that kind of counts as our acceleration test as well, because that was fun. That acceleration was fun. Paddle shifters, not really, but the acceleration, that was nice. I like it. But so anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 12.9-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 13.3-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 60 to 0 stopping distance goes, comes in at 123 feet, which is plenty respectable for the RX. As far as braking feel goes, no issues there. It's not spongy or squishy or anything like that. So no issues with the braking feel on this thing. Touching on suspension and handling, up front, you're going to get an independent McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, independent double wishbone type rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars. Did want to mention though, in addition to that, if you were to go with the F Sport trim level, you will also get tuned front and rear performance dampers, as well as my very favorite, adaptive variable suspension. Why is that one my very favorite? Because it gives you the very best of both worlds. Let me tell you why. It actually monitors each shock absorber individually, adjusting to the road imperfections, giving you that very smoothest ride possible, but it also tightens up the suspension during heavy cornering, giving you better handling then as well. So whenever there is an option for that adaptive variable suspension, no matter what manufacturer it is, I always like to recommend that one because you really can tell the difference. At least I can really tell the difference night and day at this point between if you were to get the variable suspension versus if you were to not get it. So it is a big difference in my personal opinion. But in the end, the ride quality on this particular RX that we have today is amazing. I don't know if it's because I've been testing non-luxury SUVs lately, but the ride quality on this RX is brilliant. Well done, Lexus, as expected, I guess. But also, cabin noise. That's another thing I immediately noticed. The only thing I'm really getting as far as cabin noise goes is the birds chirping, which isn't a bad thing to me. I don't know, I got bird food in my backyard. It's really not a bad thing. So, cabin noise is wonderful. The RX is definitely isolated. You don't hear a whole lot of exterior wind noise coming into the cabin. You guys could probably tell I am driving right now, and there isn't a whole lot of noise coming in, so that's definitely a good thing. As far as steering feel goes, you can adjust it based on the driving modes that you put it in. So if you prefer a heavier feel to the steering, just put it in that sport mode, and if you don't, take it out of the sport mode. You can get a looser feel to it, so really gives you the best of both worlds, I guess you could say yet again. And as far as visibility goes, I could see perfect. It really is quite good when it comes to visibility on the RX, so no issues there whatsoever. But in addition to that, you also get rain sensing windshield wipers coming standard on every single trim level. Essentially what that is whenever the RX detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on those windshield wipers for you. It's kind of like automatic headlights. It's just one less thing you have to worry about, so that's definitely a big plus as well. And in addition to that, if you wanted a head-up display for even better visibility, that goes for $600. That is optional, but that's going to project your speed and speed limit up onto your windshield, as well as some safety features as well, better helping you keep your eyes on the road. So again, assisting with visibility there too. But that about rounds out the performance segment of this review, guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2021 Lexus RX 350. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2021 Lexus RX 350, finished in eminent white pearl, which is a $425 paint option, by the way, in case anybody was curious. It is a pretty cool paint color, especially when you get up close. But let's go ahead and start up front on this one. First, wanted to mention a little bit on the F Sport side of things, although we don't have it. There is a S Sport specific front fascia if you were to go with that trim. Also F Sport specific front grille then as well. But LED headlights do come standard for all trim levels across the board. It does come with the automatic feature as well, meaning when it starts to get dark at night, those headlights are going to turn on automatically for you then there. LED daytime running lights also coming standard, but did want to mention an optional headlight configuration called triple beam LED headlights. That goes for $1,675. That not only gives you auto leveling, but adaptive front lighting system as well. I love that, because what that is when you're going around a bend at night, those headlights are therefore going to swivel based on the direction of your steering angle, better help illuminating what is around that bend, so you're less likely to hit a deer or a squirrel or a bird or whatever. So that's definitely a little safety feature in itself, I suppose you could say. Just to the bottom, silver aluminum accenting on that front lip. That is going to come with all trim levels. And to the sides, you guys could probably see it, there are some front air curtains there helping direct air around the wheel and tire combination as well for a little better aerodynamics. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and make our way now to the side of the RX. All right, so now since we are around to the side of the RX, first thing I wanted to mention, starting up top, those aluminum roof rails, they are with an optional package with the power moonroof. We do have that package today because otherwise, roof rails actually do not come standard on the RX, but you can get them like we have here today. But floating roofline, I also love that design towards the back. You guys can see that. Rear privacy glass, of course, coming standard on the RX as well. Taking a look at the side mirrors, there are power folding auto dimming side mirrors. They will be heated with LED integrated turret signals as well, and if you were to go with the F Sport trim level, they will be gloss black. They will be finished in gloss black, I should say. So a little differentiation there. Taking a look down at the wheel setup, 18-inch double 5-spoke alloys are going to be the standard configuration for the RX. However, if you were to jump up to the F Sport, that will jump up that wheel size as well to 20-inch 10-spoke alloys. So again, a little different configuration there. And actually, I think I like the side profile to the RX the very best. Definitely a good-looking side profile to this one. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the back. So now, since we are around back of this one, body colored shark fin antenna all the way to the top there, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light as well. Just below that, LED tail lights do come standard across the board. Absolutely love that. Also should mention, rear window wiper also coming standard, but I will say one thing the RX does a little bit differently than most other SUVs out there. They don't actually put the rear window wiper on the glass itself because, of course, that is going to impede visibility. What they actually do is tuck it up under the rear spoiler. I don't know if you guys can can see that or not, but it is up under there. So when you turn it on, it actually comes down and swipes from left to right from the top rather than the bottom. So a little different configuration there. I like it better, again, because it doesn't impede rear visibility. So that's a good thing. Of course, you got the RX 350 badging on the back as well, and F Sport badging if you go with the F Sport trim level, of course. Just below it all then, dual exhaust outlets with chrome tips. So I do believe you guys know what we have to do next. As always, here is that exhaust clip. You guys, so now since we are around back of the RX, when it comes to opening that rear liftgate, it is a power liftgate that does come standard. You can actually get a kick sensor or hands-free power liftgate. That is a $150 option if you wanted to go that route. We do actually have that option here today, so that is pretty cool. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 38.4 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, those rear seats do of course fold down, bumping that up to 58.5 cubic feet. Then that is a 40-20-40 split, in case anybody was curious about that. There is no in-floor storage. However, if you lift up underneath of that cargo area, there is a full-size spare tire as opposed to the fix-a-flat. So in case anybody was curious there, and that is a good thing. 12-volt power outlet coming standard in that cargo area as well. There are a couple grocery bag hooks down there, tie-down anchors as well. There is a 12-volt power outlet as well, and a rear cargo cover then too. And I don't want to forget the first aid kit. Lexus always does that. They put a first aid kit in the cargo area. I always find it pretty cool because I don't find that on any other manufacturer. So I don't know, it's pretty cool. Then making our way up to the rear legroom, that is going to come in at 38 inches even. So for reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the second row there. Heated second row seats are going to be optional if you wanted to go that route. There is a rear center armrest with cup holders. You simply press a button and that'll open up for you then. Rear ventilation does come standard. You have dual USB charging ports back there as well. That is the big win for me. And if you wanted to go with rear window sunshades, although we don't have them today, they are optional, so you can get them for the RX 350 if you wanted to go that route as well. So rear seats are plenty fine there. But then making our way up to the front seats of the RX, power adjustable driver and passenger seats do come standard. New Lux seating material is going to be the standard configuration. However, perforated leather finishes are going to be optional. Heated and ventilated front seats, again optional for $640. We do have those today. Heated front seats by itself is going to be a $440 option. You do get much enhanced bolstering with the F Sport seats. And let me emphasize this a little bit. I literally mentioned this, I feel like in all of my reviews, out of all of the seats, out of all the 500 plus cars that I've experienced at this point, F Sport seats are still my favorite. They are the most comfortable seats out there without a doubt. If you have a bad back, you don't need to look any further than Lexus F Sport seats. They are the best. We don't have them today. These seats are plenty comfortable, but the F Sport seats are better. They are the very best seats out there. But anyways, then taking a look at the steering wheel, it is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped, and you can get a heated steering wheel. That is a $150 option. We do have that again. When it comes to the startup, let me first start by showing you guys the key here. You do have your Lexus logo on the one side, and when you flip it over, lock, unlock, that button to pop the rear hatch, and the panic button, of course. But it is essentially all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do is simply put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located just by the driver's right knee there. And so once started up, tachometer is on your left, speedometer on your right. There is a small digital display front and center, which can be controlled by using the steering wheel mounted controls on the right side of the steering wheel, giving you things like your average miles per gallon at any given time. There is going to be a compass. You have some radio information, safety information. The list goes on. So basically everything you could possibly want up on the digital portion, at least, of those gauges. And taking a look at overall interior quality, a power moonroof is going to be optional. Again, it comes with the aluminum roof rails like I was mentioning for $1,350. Dual zone climate control comes standard. Auto dimming rearview mirror also standard. Wireless phone charger adds $200 if you wanted to go that route. Also wanted to mention there's several different options. If you guys go to Lexus' website, you'll see that you can configure this in so many different ways. There's so many different interior color options. There's different trims and finishes. There's walnut trim, there's sepal wood trim. I probably didn't say that right, but we have one or the other here today. So we got some kind of wood trim. It looks good. But perhaps my very favorite part, and maybe this is going to sound a little bit weird to you guys, but the headliner. The headliner is so soft. It's so ridiculously soft. I absolutely love it. It doesn't feel like a suede headliner, but it feels like a super soft headliner. It's light years better than most everything else that I test. I don't know why I'm so particular about headliners these days, but it's very nice. I will say that. Also, of course, just in front of the shifter, you have an electromechanical parking brake, dual USB charging ports, 12-volt power outlet, another little slot to put your smartphone if you wanted to. There are also dual cup holders, and perhaps my favorite part about those dual cup holders is when you press down the one side of the cup holder, you can do that for super tall drinks, and if you have a super short drink, you can actually push the push button in between the cup holders, and that cup holder is going to raise back up for shorter drinks. So I do like how Lexus thought about the tall drinks out there, so that is pretty funny, and that's pretty cool. Well thought out, Lexus. Overall, of course, you guys know it's a Lexus. I like the throwback analog clock up front here, so all in all, it's pretty darn good interior quality as expected. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the infotainment screen, because there's a couple different setups here. There is an 8-inch color touchscreen display that comes standard, but then there is the 12.3-inch color touchscreen display that is optional that we actually have today. But I will say, either way, you still get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, which is a big one, meaning if you have a smartphone, just hook it up to the RX and you have free navigation displayed up on that screen, even if you don't get the factory navigation. So that is pretty cool, of course. The factory navigation, by the way, goes for $2,285, which you don't really need these days, because if you have a smartphone, you have data, then you get it for free. So you can also check out your weather information up there. There's some driving statistics, how many miles you have left until you hit empty, your climate control information, and of course your radio information then as well. And by the way, when it comes to these sound systems, there are a couple different options you have to choose from. There is the 9-speaker sound system, which comes standard, which is the one we have today. And then there is the 15-speaker Mark Levinson sound system, which goes for $3,365. That comes with 835 watts. That's pretty ridiculous. And I've tested that sound system. It's pretty darn good. But we don't have that one today. We actually have the 9-speaker. So let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. Actually, not that bad. I kind of like it. Not the Mark Levinson good, but definitely a very good sound system for the RX without a doubt. More than what you would need for an RX, basically. But so anyways, last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on that tech display is when you do put the RX in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard. It doesn't take up the full screen though, which is kind of a bummer, but still it is there. And there is a panoramic view monitor, which goes for $1,365, which gives you an additional bird's eye view if you wanted to go that route as well. But as always, that is going to lead us into safety. And so IIHS top safety pick. First thing I wanted to mention when it comes to this one, that pretty much says it all right there. Front side curtain airbags do come standard. There is a driver's knee airbag as well. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system. But the new standard safety for the 2021 RX, this is the big change for 2021 basically. Blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert now comes standard, and power folding auto dimming side mirrors now also comes standard on the RX 350. But that's the new stuff. Also standard across the board is going to be a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, lane tracing assist, lane departure alert with steering assist, road sign assist, dynamic radar cruise control, which is always a good one, automatic high beams as well. I love that feature, by the way, you guys. I use that every single morning. You essentially just hit the button and it turns on your high beams when there's a car coming in the opposite direction. Then it puts it back to regular low beams, and then it puts it back to high beams once that vehicle is gone. It's super convenient, let me tell you. But in addition to that, there is also an intuitive parking assist with rear cross traffic braking option that goes for $565 if you wanted to go that route. But overall, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the RX 350, the new standard safety is great. I definitely will say that. Safety all around really is great for this one. It's an IIHS top safety pack after all. Great reliability, of course. This is a Lexus. Great ride quality. When it comes to cabin noise, that is great as well. I keep using that word. I don't know why, but most comfy seats in existence as well if you were to go with that F Sport trim level. As far as constructive criticism goes, there is a lot of optional stuff on the RX, especially at this price range, that should be coming standard. Like, for instance, Heated seats. You can get heated seats on most Toyotas without having to opt for any options. So that is kind of interesting. Also a power moonroof. A lot of trim levels of the Corolla will give you a standard power moonroof. I'm thinking it probably should be standard on the RX then as well. So I would have liked to have seen some more standard stuff on the RX. And in addition to that, there is quite a bit of competition in this particular segment as well when you include the Porsche Macan, BMW X3, and Genesis GV80, which is kind of a little bit bigger than this. So I don't know if it's really the same competition, but still, quite a bit of competition, similar price ranges for all of those. So overall, in the end, the RX is really great at what matters the most. I would put it that way. So reliability, safety, and seat comfort. Those are probably the top three most important things to me. So although I would have liked to have seen a full digital gauge cluster in this one, I will say that as well. But anyways, that is about it for this one. Let me know what you guys think of the RX 350 in the comments section below, because I do read them all. It's pretty interesting. I like the conversation. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another one. If you were new to the channel, I am Gold Pony. I do car, truck, SUV reviews on YouTube, and today we are in the new 2021 Subaru Forester, courtesy of Apple Subaru in York, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. And so, as I am sitting at this red light, wanted to check this Subaru Forester out today because several changes actually for the 2021 model year. Of course, excellent resale value, really with any Subaru in general for that matter. Great reliability. You can check out a Consumer Reports magazine to see that. Specifically, the Forester has amazing reliability. And of course, with Subarus, you have the very best all-wheel drive system in existence, and that has been proven. So, having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. So as you can imagine, there are actually several different trim levels for the 2021 Forester. First one being the base setup, starting at $24,795. Premium for $27,795, Sport for $29,395, Limited for $31,395, and lastly the Touring starting at $34,895. But I will say, regardless of trim level that you go with, power plant on the Forester is going to be the same. Powering this beast is going to be a 2.5 liter direct injected horizontally opposed Subaru Boxer engine, putting out 182 horsepower at 5,800 RPM, 176 pound-feet of torque, available at 4,400 RPM. Power sent to all four wheels, of course, through a Lineartronic CVT with paddle shifters. Actually, if you go with the Sport trim level and up, that's how you're going to get them, and we will be testing those out in a little bit here. But do want to also mention, with that Sport trim level and up though, you also will get a 7-speed manual mode for the CVT if you were to go with those specific trim levels. So that's kind of interesting. So we'll give that a shot, of course, as well. So like I said, we will be giving that a shot. I'll let you know how that manual mode actually feels. But 0 to 60 time comes in at approximately 8.5 seconds, with MPG numbers coming in at 26 in the city, 33 on the highway, taking regular unleaded fuel. But so before we test out anything in the Forester, I did want to mention there are actually some driving modes that do come standard on this one as well. They will include Sport and Intelligent. Those two buttons are going to be located on the right side of the steering wheel mounted controls there. Essentially what they will do is adjust things like the shift points and the throttle response as well. So let's go ahead and push Sport, and it did immediately downshift for me, so it is going to hold the RPMs at a much higher level, giving you more power on demand. So that's going to be useful for merging onto the highway, things like that. And then you could just hit the I, Intelligent mode, and that'll put it back to its normal driving mode essentially. But having now said all of that, like I was mentioning, there is a 7-speed manual mode here. So what we are going to do is push the shifter all the way to the back and to the left. That is going to give me that manual mode. Right now it is telling me I am in that 7th gear, so it is going to display the gears within the digital portion of the gauge is right in front of you there. So having said all that, let's just go ahead and find a straightaway here, and let's test out the paddle shifters. Keep in mind, this is a CVT, or continuously variable transmission, so there's not really gears to shift through, but we are going to see how well it actually simulates that shifting in the end. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Here we go. Didn't shift. Nice. Huh. That's kind of good. It really simulates a regular automatic transmission quite well. Like, it was winding out the RPMs and it did not shift for me. So it really is a true manual mode. That's pretty cool. I like the Subaru did that, giving the driver a little more control. So I like it. Anyways, let's go ahead and do a quick little acceleration test here. I think I found my spot in 3, 2, 1. Yow! Well, there's that CVT. It's not bad. It's definitely not the quickest thing in the world. If you want quick, go with the Subaru WRX or something like that, but it's all right. It's just all right. We'll say that. I wouldn't have minded if the Subaru Forester came with maybe a turbocharged engine, perhaps, maybe with a nice little hood scoop feeding air into the top mount intercooler. Something like that would be pretty freaking sweet on a Forester, but nonetheless, because you have this engine, you are going to get better fuel economy and of course better reliability than a turbocharged engine as well, but not the quickest thing in the world. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration test, as always, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 11.6-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 11.2-inch solid rear discs. And actually for the sport trim level and up, that gets bumped up a little bit to 12.4-inch ventilated front discs. So almost a full inch larger in the front when you go with that sport trim level and up, at least. In the back, still 11.2-inch solid rear discs for those trims. But all in all, when it comes to the 60-0 stopping distance, that's going to come in at 129 feet for the Forester. But that's with the regular brake setup. If you were to go with that upsized brake setup, it actually then comes in at 118 feet, which is very respectable for that one. Tiguan comes in at 131. Honda HR-V comes in at 116. So it's kind of right in the middle of the pack, unless you go with that larger brake setup with the sport trim level and up, and then you really get some very good braking. And I will attest to that. Absolutely no issues with the braking feel in my short test drive today whatsoever. So I'm definitely a fan there. Touching on suspension and handling, up front you're going to get an independent strut type front suspension with the stabilizer bar. In the back, double wishbone type rear suspension, once again with the stabilizer bar. But perhaps what impressed me the most right off the bat, I could instantly tell with the Forester, is the steering feel. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. It's definitely on the weightier side of things, so therefore it instantly points you in the direction that you want to go. Typically with SUVs, you're going to find a lot of loosey-goosey steering feels, which definitely isn't my favorite. So with the Forester, it almost feels more along the lines of a sports car. So the steering feel is absolutely wonderful on the Forester, I will say that. When it comes to ride quality, it's pretty much as expected. I mean, we got a lot of road imperfections in PA, so I've been hitting a lot of them, but it's as expected. It's certainly not the smoothest ride, but it's not the worst either. So it's pretty much on par for the course, I guess you could say. Then touching on cabin noise, that's perfectly fine as well. I get a little bit of engine noise when you really hit the gas, but other than that, the Forester is actually pretty well insulated. I will say that. I was at highway speeds for quite a bit and not a whole lot of exterior wind noise coming into the cabin. Again, it's just that engine noise when you really hit the gas. That's not necessarily a bad thing in my opinion. I actually enjoy that. But touching on visibility, this is really where the Forester really shines. Absolutely amazing visibility. Of course, that's due to its shape being a little more boxier in nature, but you can see wonderfully out the back. So when it comes to visibility, the Forester is certainly on point. But that about rounds out the performance segment of this review, guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of this brand new 2021 Subaru Forester. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2021 Subaru Forester. This is the limited trim, by the way, finished in crystal black silica for anybody who is curious. But let's go ahead and start up front now of the Forester. I wanted to mention ground clearance because Subaru tends to do this pretty well. 8.7 inches of ground clearance up front there. That's definitely more than most other competitors in its class. Typically that comes in at around 8 inches, but Subaru Forester puts it at around 8.7, so that's definitely pretty nice. LED steering responsive headlights is now newly standard for the 2021 Forester. It's one of the new things this year. Essentially what that means is when you're going around a bend at night, those headlights will swivel based on your steering angle, better help illuminating what is around that bend, so you're less likely to hit a deer or really anything else. LED fog lights coming with the premium trim level and up. LED daytime running lights coming with all trims, of course. Red trim detail can be found on the sport trim level only, and that's going to be found near the front lip, the side skirts, and the rear bumper. A little sportier appearance, I guess you could say. Also with that sport trim level, you're going to get gloss black front grille surrounds as opposed to the chrome that you are currently looking at right now on the Limited, and of course that's going to come with the Touring as well, that chrome grille surrounds and the extra detail around the fog lights down below there. But anyways, that pretty much wraps up the front timeless look to the Forester here. Let's go ahead and make our way now to the side of the Forester. And so let me go ahead and start up top. Raised roof rails coming standard with the premium trim level and up. Also, rear privacy glass for the premium trim level and up, meaning that base trim level does not actually get the rear privacy glass. It's something that people typically ask on my reviews of the Forester in previous years, so I wanted to mention that. Taking a look at the side mirrors, power adjustable black side mirrors coming with the base trim. Body colored side mirrors coming with the premium, sport, and limited. You will find a satin chrome finish to those side mirrors then if you were to go with the Touring. So that's going to differ amongst the trim levels there. And you're also actually going to get integrated turret signals if you go with the sport trim level and up as well. Then take a look down at the bottom. When it comes to the side skirts, they are going to differ amongst the trim levels as well. You're going to find some red trim if you were to go with the sport. There's going to be some satin chrome trim with the Touring. Otherwise, you're going to find that matte black trim at the bottom, which is currently what you're looking at right now, of course. Then taking a look at the wheel setup, 17-inch steel wheels with covers coming with the base trim, 17 by 7-inch aluminum alloys with the premium, and 18 by 7-inch alloys if you were to go with the sport, limited, or Touring like you were looking at right now. But now, let's go ahead and make our way to the back of this one. And so now, since we are around back, you will find a shark fin antenna up top there. Just below that, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light for all trims. Just below that, rear window wiper, C-shaped LED taillights coming standard across the board. Gotta love that. A little better illumination at night there. And then just below it all, you are going to find a single exhaust outlet finished with a chrome tip. Definitely looks good back there, actually. So I do believe you guys know what we have to do next. As always, here is that exhaust clip. So, but now since we are around back of the Forester, when it comes to opening that rear liftgate, it is going to be a power liftgate only if you go with the limited, Touring, or it's going to be optional in the premium and the sport, but you will get a manual liftgate that is going to be the standard setup again, unless you go with the limited or the Touring there. Once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 28.9 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, of course, the rear seats do fold down. There is a 60-40 split, bumping that up to 70.9 cubic feet. And it was relatively easy to fold those rear seats down. There's actually a little knob found on the corners on the top portion of those rear seats. You just lift up on that and then push the seats down. That's pretty easy there. But also found in that cargo area, actually, I wanted to mention grocery bag hooks. There's also cargo tie-down anchors back there. You will also get in-floor storage on every single trim level. That doesn't always come standard on SUVs, so I did want to mention that. Removable cargo area tray coming with the sport trim level and up. And you will also find a cargo area rear gate light for the sport trim level and up as well back there. So overall, pretty much everything you could possibly want in a cargo area of a vehicle. So anyways, making our way now to the rear legroom. That comes in at 39.4 inches. So for reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had back there. Did want to also mention those rear seats. If you go with the premium trim level and up at least, they are reclining, meaning if you wanted to lay back a little bit, they do recline backwards, or you can move them up a little bit as well if you wanted to. Heated rear seats actually come with the Touring trim level. I wanted to mention that if you wanted to spoil your rear passengers a little bit. Fold down rear armrests with cup holders coming with the premium trim level and up. You will actually get dual rear USB charging ports for the sport trim level and up. And I did want to also mention you will get front seat back map pockets. There's kind of two different sections to them as well. You almost never see that, so it's a cool little design feature. I like that Subaru added that. But now let's go ahead now and make our way to the front seats. They are manually adjustable cloth seats with the base trim level, power adjustable front seats for the premium trim level and up. You will find heated front seats again for the premium trim level and up, and that button's located just behind the shifter, by the way. Sport cloth with orange stitching for the sport trim level. Leather seating then is going to come with the limited and Touring, and it is a perforated leather, by the way, as well. Wanted to mention that. Overall, very comfortable seat. Definitely didn't have any issues in my short test drive today, so I do like the seats on the Forester here. Then take a look at the steering wheel. It is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped for the premium trim level and up. and it will be heated if you were to go with the Touring. And by the way, that heated feature is an option on the limited trim level that we have today. It's actually located on the right side of the steering wheel, but we do have that option. So it is pretty cool that it's heated, especially on cold days in Pennsylvania. Unlike today, but it's going to get cold. I know it is. But anyways, let's now go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me first start by showing you guys the key here. You do essentially have all of your buttons on one side of the key, lock, unlock, and that button to pop the rear hatch. And by the way, the unlock button is going to be the Subaru logo located in the middle of the key there, in case anybody was curious. But it is all going to be a push button start if you were to go with the premium trim level and up. So we do have that today. So all I'm going to do here, simply put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located just by the driver's right knee. And so, but then upon startup, those gauges will do a full sweep. Tachometer is on your left, speedometer is on your right, and there is a small digital display front and center, giving you basic information like how many miles you have left until you hit empty, your average miles per gallon at any given time, what driving mode you're in, and like I was saying earlier, what gear you were in if you were to choose to put it in that manual mode here on the Forester. But essentially, it is a pretty basic gauge setup. I think it probably would have been cool to add a full digital gauge cluster and maybe the upper trim levels of the Forester, but it gets the job done either way. But taking a look at overall interior quality, panoramic power moonroof coming with the premium trim level and up. This I love. You almost never find a panoramic power moonroof on that many trim levels of a vehicle. So the fact that Subaru puts it on the premium trim level and up, of course, that's pretty darn cool because you usually don't find that. So I wanted to mention that. Overhead LED map lights coming standard on all trim levels. That's pretty nice as opposed to the halogens. You will also have an overhead sunglass holder up here as well. Dual zone climate control is going to come with the limited and touring trim levels only. HomeLink controls is going to be optional on all trim levels. It doesn't come standard on any particular trim level though. Just in front of the shifter, you're going to have an auxiliary port, 2 USB charging ports, and a 12-volt power outlet. There's a little bit of storage just behind that as well. Behind the shifter, you're going to have an electromechanical parking brake, and in the middle of it all is going to be that X mode dial. And so essentially what X mode is on the Forester, it uses enhanced control of the VDC system along with increasing all-wheel drive system engagement to give you better traction in bad weather. For example, when it snows here in Pennsylvania, that is definitely a mode you're going to want to utilize. But there's specific modes within X mode actually. There's the normal mode, which is what you leave it in for regular driving. That's when you just press down on the dial there. But if you turn it to the left, you're going to have snow and dirt. If you turn it to the right, you're going to have deep snow and mud. So did want to mention that X mode is going to be there for you on the Forester as well, and it's going to be a very useful feature when it starts to snow. And of course, you got the best all-wheel drive system anyways in the Forester. So essentially everything is going to be perfectly fine when you hit those conditions. But just behind that dial, you're going to have 2 cup holders. Just behind that, a little bit of storage. And within the center armrest, of course, even more storage along with the 12-volt power outlet in there as well. Overall, when it comes to interior quality of the Forester, it's pretty much as expected. I actually kind of like it. There's some rubberized finishes on the doors as well as just above the passenger side glove box. That's pretty cool. A little bit of plastic finish above the glove box as well, but I will say I do like the design of that. And again, overall, it's pretty much finished as you would expect the Forester to be finished, so no issues there for me. But now let's make our way to the tech display. There's actually 2 tech screens I wanted to mention, and let me start with the top one. To control what is on that upper tech screen, there's actually an info button on the left side of the steering wheel. And it's one of those things where you're probably not going to know how to control what is on that screen unless somebody tells you. So it is labeled info. And so when you press that, you can view things like your outside temperature, what day of the week it is, the date as well. Also, your safety information is going to be up there. There's some off-road status, oil temperature, weather information. There's a compass up there, radio information. The list goes on, but really a good bit of information can be found on the upper tech screen of the Forester. But just below that is really where everything else is found. And that's going to be a 6.5-inch color touchscreen display for the base, premium, and sport. Otherwise, if you go with the limited or touring, that's bumped up to an 8-inch color touchscreen display, which is currently what you guys are looking at right now. Bluetooth and audio streaming comes standard either way. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay for every single trim level, by the way. Even the base Forester, you still get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and that means if you have a smartphone, simply hook it up to the Forester, and therefore you have free navigation displayed up on that tech screen, as well as the ability to like and dislike your Pandora songs. There's a couple other compatible apps as well. Factory navigation system is going to come with the touring trim level only. Really, you only need that if you perhaps go under a lot of tunnels or if you live in the mountains or something like that. Of course, you can check out your radio information up on that screen as well. And by the way, when it comes to the sound systems of the Forester, it will differ substantially amongst the trim levels. 4 speakers coming with the bass, 6 speakers coming with the premium, sport, and limited, and you will find a 9-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. If you were to go with the touring, that sound system is optional on the limited that we have today, and we do have that, by the way. That's why I mentioned it. So, and by the way, that sound system comes with 576 watts. So what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. Definitely a ton of bass with a Harman Kardon sound system, I will say that. And conveniently, it was very easy to adjust the amount of bass, the mid-range speakers and all that. There's actually a sound button located just below the radio settings there. It was very easy to find, so I was able to actually turn up that bass a little bit and make it even better. So loved it. It was that simple to adjust that as well. But sound system is great if you were to go with the Harman Kardon, I will say that. So definitely pretty nice. But the last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on that tech display is when you do put the Forester in reverse, of course, you will find a rear view camera coming standard for all trim levels across the board, letting you know who or what is behind you, which is always is going to lead us into safety. And so first, starting with safety, I wanted to mention the Forester is an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, which is, by the way, the very highest designation given by IIHS. So that's always pretty much the best start you could possibly get. Front side curtain airbags do come standard. Driver's knee airbag as well. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats. Rear child door locks back there. Tire pressure monitoring system. Also, those Subaru EyeSight coming standard on every single trim level of the Forester. This is going to include a pre-collision braking system, pre-collision throttle management, lane departure and sway warning, and adaptive cruise control with lane centering as well. And by the way, that adaptive cruise control system, you can adjust that using the steering wheel mounted controls found on the right side of the steering wheel there. But the list actually continues from that. Sport trim level and up is going to add to that automatic high beams as well as a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert. And that's going to be the little Subaru logo in the side mirrors, letting you know if somebody is in your blind spot, of course. Touring trim level and up then is also going to add reverse automatic braking, which is going to be optional on the limited, by the way. So I did want to mention that as well. But ultimately, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the 2021 Forester, excellent when it comes to safety, and Subaru always takes a lot of pride in their safety ratings and really overall safety in all of their vehicles. I've seen interviews with those Subaru executives really taking pride in that, so that is pretty cool. Love the addition of the adaptive LED headlights across the board. That's super nice, especially at night. Best all-wheel drive system in existence, of course. Really good steering feel on this one as well. That is one thing that really surprised me when I started driving this. So that's pretty cool. Of course, you have excellent resale value. It's pretty much a Subaru thing as well. As far as room for improvement goes on this one, like I was mentioning to you guys earlier, it is somewhat slow. Wouldn't have minded a turbocharged engine. It would be super cool if they actually dropped the WRX engine in here and they put a top mount intercooler with a hood scoop. That would be pretty darn sweet. And of course, CVT transmissions aren't always my favorite, but having said that, I do like that they put the 7-speed manual mode on there, but how often do people really use those paddle shifters? Anyways, so I don't know how often it's going to be used, but I do like that it is there. And of course, you can use that for engine braking in the snow as well if you wanted to. But that is about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on social media at the bottom of the screen there if you like. Be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button if you're into new car reviews. That is what we do here on this channel after all. Do appreciate you guys watching more than you know, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Stay gold.
ever since 2003 has been doing a pretty good job being in the middle between compact and mid-size SUVs. For 2016, a completely redesigned Sorento carries on with this formula, but it's now more refined and a little bigger this time around than the previous generation. So, let's go ahead and check out this 2016 Kia Sorento SX. Now, as far as styling goes on this new Sorento, I think it's quite evolutionary this time around. Of course, you still have Kia's Tiger Nose corporate front grille, and you can easily tell it's a Kia by that front grille right there. And then on this SX trim, you have these red painted calipers that you also had on the last generation Sorento. But this time around, it's also a little bit more masculine, a little bit more muscular and beefed up, and more aggressive and in your face with this new headlight design. But overall, I think it's a quite handsome looking vehicle. Now, since we do have the SX trim here, it does come pretty loaded. We have a panoramic sunroof on the Sorento, a full-on leather interior, navigation system, as well as LED accenting lights. Now here goes the key fob for the vehicle. As you can see, it's a fairly high-quality looking key fob design. You have your lock, unlock to release your tailgate. You do have a power tailgate, and then your panic button too, of course. Now it is a white exterior color with smart key access on the driver's door and front passenger door. You also do have chrome exterior door handles. Power driver seat with power recline and power lumbar, and you also do have a power adjustable thigh extension. Has a full-on two-toned light gray and dark gray leather interior. Now, stepping on inside of the new Sorento, as you can see, it's a fairly high quality looking cabin, and where they really improved on in the interior the most over the previous generation was build quality and materials. It's a lot better in this generation Sorento than the last one, but pretty stylish looking cabin design. They do have push button ignition, of course. Just put your foot on the brake and hit the button to start. And what you're hearing is a 3.3 liter V6. Leather wrapped steering wheel. Love the steering wheel rim, has a decent grip to it. Now, coming to your transmission, in typical Kia fashion, you have a 6-speed automatic. Nowadays, that's pretty normal stuff. However, I would love to see more gears for improved fuel economy. But you do have manual shiftability. And then putting the vehicle into reverse displays your rear view camera with guidance lines, and you also do have trajectory as well as rear cross traffic alert. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the lights and the hazards too. All windows are fully automatic. And let's go ahead and pop up the hood and check out the engine bay. Heated exterior mirrors with LED turn signal indicators, and you also do have blind spot detection. You also do have 19-inch alloy wheels. Halogen projector beam headlights with LED accenting lights, and you also do have your halogen fog lights. Like I said, it's a more aggressive and beefed up appearance this time around, much more muscular. Now, under the hood here, like I said, you will find the optional 3.3 liter V6 producing 290 horses at 6,400 RPM and 252 pound-feet of torque at 5,300 RPM, with EPA estimates with the all-wheel drive system being a reasonable 17 in the city and 23 on the highway, running on regular unleaded fuel. Now your base powertrain on the Sorento is going to be a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder, and then if you do get the 5-passenger Sorento, you can get the 2 liter 4-cylinder turbo, and that's a new powertrain for the 2016 model year. But we'll see what this baby could do when we hit the road later in the video. Now if you do get the 5-passenger version of the Sorento, competitors include the Nissan Rogue, Chevrolet Equinox, as well as the Honda CR-V. Now if you get the 7-passenger version like how we have here, competitors include the Toyota Highlander, Honda Pilot, Ford Explorer, as well as the Chevrolet Traverse. Now pricing of the Sorento starts at the base trim, which is the L model, and that starts at $24,900, and it comes pretty well equipped with LED accenting lights, Bluetooth phone connectivity, as well as driver mode select. Then you step up to the LX trim, which starts at $26,200. Then you have the EX, which starts at $31,100. The SX, like how we have here, starts at $37,900. And then finally, the SX Limited starts at $39,900. Coming to the rear, you have LED taillights, rear reflectors, a rear window wiper with a rear window defroster, and rear parking sensors too. And like I said, you do have rear cross traffic alert. Very stylish. Now, like I said, EPA estimates are 17 in the city, 23 on the highway. Total vehicle price for this particular one is $40,895. Of course, you have all of your basic power necessities: power windows, door locks, power mirrors. You also do have power folding exterior mirrors too. Memory seat settings for 2 people. Nice soft touch padded armrest. And let's go ahead and rev it up. Now there is a decent sense of pretty good sophistication in the 2016 Kia Sorento's ride that its predecessors lacked, as even the top of the line models with their big 19-inch wheels managed to soak up road bumps pretty good. Kia's midsize crossover is also pretty darn quiet, especially in the EX trim and above. So count the 2016 Sorento as a very comfortable family hauler. Now, every 2016 Sorento comes with the driver mode select, which features 3 modes: normal, sport, and eco, that alter transmission shift points and steering effort. Although I could detect the changes in the former, it was difficult to kind of differentiate between the steering settings, at least in our SX test vehicle. It's important to note, though, that the SX and SX Limited actually have a different steering system that should yield a greater sense of precision and feel than the other trims. Now, with this 3.3 liter V6 engine, it definitely has enough power on tap here for your daily commute, with 290 horses. Now, Kia expects most people to buy the new Sorento with the base 4-cylinder engine, and to be honest, I recommend avoiding that powertrain as it doesn't really have enough power to motivate this crossover here. Now, if you can live without 7 seats, I recommend going with the turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, as I found the power delivery to be a little bit better than the V6 engine. Now overall, I like the steering on the Sorento, and I think it provides a decent balance between ride comfort and pretty good steering. But remember that this is no sports car here, but it's much better than the previous generation Sorento. I could really feel for where the SUV is trying to go. Very nice. Now, as far as build quality and materials go inside of the Sorento here, it's much better than the previous generation in build quality. You won't find that many panel gaps inside of here compared to the last generation. And same goes with the materials. Materials is much better than the previous generation. You have a nice soft touch upper door panel. Down here on the armrest is also nice soft touch. It's decently padded on the mid door panel. And then up here it's also a nice soft touch material with nice premium stitching. Also nice and padded right here. And then where your knees might hit, it's also nice and soft touch right here. I was pretty surprised about that. But overall, build quality and materials is pretty good inside of the Sorento. Now, I wasn't really a big fan of the last generation in terms of its steering wheel design, and this is a much better steering wheel here. It's much more modern looking, and I love the controls on them too. And then I love the grip the steering wheel has as well. Now, coming to the controls, of course you have all of your basic controls like your Bluetooth phone controls, voice recognition, and your steering wheel mounted audio controls. And then coming over here you have your cruise control buttons, and then this button right here controls your TFT instrument cluster, which I'll get to a little later in the video. But overall, it's a very nice looking steering wheel. You also do have a manually tilting and telescoping steering wheel. Decent range of adjustment. Now coming down here, you have your auxiliary input, your USB port, and two 12-volt power outlets. And you also do have a little storage cubby down there. And then right here you will find your cup holders, and then your lockable center differential, your parking sensors off button, and then your different driver selectable modes. And then coming to the center console, it's nice and padded and stitched, very high quality. Then you also do have another USB port down there. And then the center console storage is okay. Coming up here you have your auto dimming rear view mirror with garage home link. Your sunglass container, very high quality, lined with felt too. And then you have your interior illumination lighting, LEDs. And then your panoramic sunroof gives the cabin a much more open, airy feel. And you also do have your sliding shade. Pretty nice. This is also LED too. A lot of manufacturers just make this LED and then just make this normal lights, but that's also LED as well. Headliner is also pretty high quality, nice and plush. You have this fabric headliner, it's really nice. Now coming to the main center stack controls, I love how utilitarian it looks, but it's also pretty stylish and high quality looking at the same time, and it's pretty simple and easy to use as well. Really big knobs and buttons here. You have dual zone automatic climate control, your temperatures are right here, and then you have your front window defroster, rear window defroster, your different zones, and it'll display up on the touchscreen display. And then you have your fan speeds, and then when you click on climate right here, it goes to your climate control on the touchscreen display. Then you have your recycling mode too. Pretty easy to figure out. And then down here you have your heated seats. Now coming over here, you have your gauge brightness, and then you have your blind spot detection, and then the orange light will illuminate if you turned it on. And then you have your 115 volt power outlet if you want to turn that on, and then your traction control off button. Now coming to the main head unit, you have Kia's UVO system with the 8-inch touchscreen display. Coming to your radio, you have your AM, FM, Sirius XM satellite radio, HD radio on this bad boy too. Coming to your media, your different media sources include Bluetooth, streaming audio, your USB, and then your auxiliary input too. And then coming to UVO, you have your UVO e-services, you have roadside assistance, your points of interest, your e-services guide, My Car Zone, Parking Minder, and your vehicle diagnostics. And then when you want to access the navigation system, you actually do have to have an SD card and slotted right there. And then coming to your phone, of course, you have an integrated dial pad. You can hook up your phone on here, have all your contacts, of course, all that good stuff. And then coming to info, you can access Pandora Internet Radio, SoundHound, and then you have apps that you could download. A quick guide, voice commands, Sirius XM data, and then your climate. And then coming to setup, you can change many different settings like the navigation, voice recognition, sound, display, etc. And then you also do have an optical disk drive up here too. But overall, we've seen this head unit many times before, and I love this head unit. Really great responsiveness, the rendering and the graphics are great too, and it's very user-friendly, and the buttons are really clear, easy to read, the font is great, and it's just a really great infotainment system. And you also do have the Infinity Premium audio sound system on this bad boy too. Now, coming to the TFT instrument cluster, I'm a pretty big fan of it, and we've seen it many times before on many Kia vehicles. But basically it's like a little mini Kia UVO system. You have your digital speedometer right there, and then your exterior temperature readout is on the bottom. And then you have your different driver selectable modes, which will appear up on this instrument cluster as well. And then, like I said, it's all controlled by the buttons on the steering wheel. Then it shows you what radio station you're on, and then your tire pressure as well. And then user settings like your driver assistance, door, tailgate, lights, sound, etc. Now, as far as the seats go, the seats are pretty comfortable, great for long road trips, and I love the nice soft pillowy headrests. And then the side bolstering, there's lots of it, and when I was going around corners in this vehicle, they really hug you in tight. Love the side bolstering. And then the thigh support is pretty good too. Now, as far as visibility goes, it's pretty average for the class. There's a decent amount of side glass area. The A-pillar isn't too thick. Outward visibility is okay. And then rearward visibility isn't too shabby either. Alright, and let's go ahead and shut down the Sorento. Let's go ahead and check out the rest of the vehicle. Power tailgate. Now back here you will find a decent amount of cargo capacity if you're comparing this to a compact crossover with the third row folded down. Now to fold it down, you just pull this, easy as that. And then to fold down the second row, just pull these levers right here. And then they come right down. Really easy to do. Like I said, you do have a power tailgate. Now build quality and materials do follow through in the rear back here. Still nice and soft touch. And on the upper door panel too. Great build quality. And you do have a rear sunshade back here. Now these seats do recline and they do slide forward and aft for a more comfortable experience. Now, most notably with this new redesign, you will definitely find more passenger space, especially in the second row. Something that the previous generation was lacking was decent passenger space in the second row. But this one is okay, I have to say. You do have dual map pockets back here, rear air vents, a USB port and a 12 volt power outlet, and you do have an 115 volt power outlet. Rear armrest with cup holders. Seats are pretty comfortable back here. Thigh support is okay. Overall, it's a pretty comfortable experience. Definitely love that panoramic sunroof. Powered passenger seat with power recline. The glove box, nice and damped. Alrighty. So the Kia Sorento is bigger, more sophisticated, and much more enjoyable to drive for 2016, making it a very appealing alternative to 5 and 7 passenger SUVs that were previously a class above it. Kia's midsize crossover should definitely be worth putting on your test drive list.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another one. If you are new to the channel, I am Gold Pony. Today we are in the new 2019 Ford Mustang EcoBoost, courtesy of Bob Ruth Ford in Dillsburg, PA. And I am excited to be in this one today because it has been like 2 weeks since I've driven my Mustang GT because of the cold weather and the summer tires that I have on it. I try not to take it out when it's freezing outside like today. Nonetheless, let me jump right into this, and as always, let's start with pricing. And so there will be several different trim levels available for the 2019 Mustang EcoBoost. First one being your standard fastback, that is going to start at $26,120. Then there is the premium fastback for $31,135. Convertible is going to start at $31,620, and lastly, the premium convertible, that one is going to start at $36,635. But regardless of trim level, power plant on the 2019 Mustang EcoBoost will be the same. Powering this one is going to be a 2.3 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine, putting out 310 horsepower at 5,500 RPM, 350 pound-feet of torque, available at around 3,000 RPM. Power is going to be sent to the rear wheels, of course, through either your choice of either a standard 6-speed manual or the optional 10-speed automatic with paddle shifters. By the way, that one adds around $1,600 to the price tag, but that is the one we have today, so you can bet we will be testing out those paddle shifters in a little bit here. But in the end, 0 to 60 time is going to come in at approximately 4.8 to 5.1 seconds. I usually see it in that ballpark, and that depends on the transmission as well. The 10-speed is going to get you to 60 a little bit faster than the 6-speed. And when it comes to MPGs, the Mustang EcoBoost is going to give you 21 in the city, 32 on the highway using premium unleaded fuel. But so that before we do any kind of accelerations in the Mustang EcoBoost, I did want to mention the driving modes available via toggle switches just in front of the shifter there. But those driving modes are going to come with the 101A package that we do indeed have today, and that's available with the standard Mustang EcoBoost, or if you go with the premium trim level, that is also going to give you those driving modes. But what you have to choose from there is normal, sport plus, track, drag strip mode, and snow and wet as well. And that's going to adjust things like the throttle response and the shift points, of course, if you go with the 10-speed automatic. And there is a button just to the left of that driving mode button that has a steering wheel on it. That's going to give you different steering feels, including normal, sport, and comfort. I usually leave it in sport in my own Mustang because it does give you a heavier feel to the steering wheel, and you gotta love that. But anyway, since I mentioned all those driving modes, let's do a quick little acceleration test with the paddle shifters. We'll do both at the same time here, and let's see how quickly we can get the 2019 Mustang EcoBoost here up to speed. Definitely not as quick as the GT, but I will say quite a bit of pull, and you got to keep in mind it is over 300 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque, so it is definitely going to be a quick car, even faster when it's warmer out. You can get some traction, unlike today where it's 32 degrees, but paddle shifters did have a slight delay when it comes to reaction times, but still not bad there either. And if you did decide to take the Mustang EcoBoost to the drag strip, did want to mention you will get electronic line lock as well, which is basically where it locks up the front wheels and allows the back wheels to completely run free, helping you warm up the tires, of course, before you actually hit the gas. But after you do that, put it in that drag strip mode, and that's going to keep the RPMs in the sweet spot throughout the acceleration here in the 10-speed, and that should give you a pretty nice time when it comes to the quarter mile. But to go along with that acceleration, as I always have to mention, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 12.5-inch front rotors with dual piston front calipers. In the back, once again, 12.5-inch rear rotors with single piston calipers. And since we have a stop sign coming up here, let's test out the braking feel. Wow, definitely no issues there. And since I'm touching on the braking here, there is a performance pack actually available for the Mustang EcoBoost that adds $2,500, which is honestly a steal when it comes to the EcoBoost, because with the GT that adds $4,000 for the performance pack, so really a nice deal when it comes to the EcoBoost. But nonetheless, that is going to bump up the brake setup to 14-inch front rotors with 4-piston front calipers, 13-inch rear rotors with single piston calipers in the back there. So although this regular setup does stop quite nicely, that performance pack is going to give you even more stopping power if you wanted it. And that option is going to add more than just the brakes, of course. It's also going to give you a Torsen limited slip rear axle, a black painted strut tower brace, heavy duty front springs, larger radiator. It's going to add a rear spoiler in the back, unique chassis tuning, and an upsized rear sway bar as well. Therefore, you can conclude that the handling is going to be bumped up when it comes to that performance pack as well. And since I mentioned it, when it comes to the standard setup as far as suspension and handling, you will get monotube shocks, rear cross axis suspension joints, also an independent rear suspension. And like I had previously alluded to, when it comes to this steering feel, with that steering feel mode that I was previously telling you about, it is definitely a nice steering feel. If you wanted a looser steering feel, just put it in that comfort mode. If you wanted the heavier feel like I like, put it in the sport mode. And the steering feel does feel on point with this one. As far as ride quality goes, I have had absolutely no issues, but in the back of my mind, I'm kind of comparing it to my GT, which I have lowered and upsized the wheels, so can tell you definitely a better ride quality than I currently have. And if you wanted even better ride quality, there is a MagneRide damping system that adds around $1,700, but essentially what that is going to do is scan the road up to 1,000 times per second at each damper, really giving you the best of both worlds. Not only that smoother ride, but also tightening up the suspension around heavy cornering on the back roads. And honestly, if I were to do my GT again, I probably would go that route. And then when it comes to visibility, I can see perfectly fine out the back. I've never had any issues with Mustang visibility, so you are good to go there. But enough with the driving dynamics, you guys. Let's check out the exterior of the new 2019 Ford Mustang EcoBoost. And so to start, let me first touch on the color options available for the 2019 Mustang EcoBoost. New colors for the 2019 model year are going to include Velocity Blue and Need for Green, which is the best color for 2019, which is why I got it on my own. The deleted colors for the 2019 Mustang are going to include Triple Yellow, Lightning Blue, and Royal Crimson. But so anyways, taking a look up front, you will find LED headlights with LED signature lighting coming standard on every single trim level. Also LED front park turn lights, again, every single trim level. And if you go with the premium though, that will come with the automatic feature up there as well, meaning when it starts to get dark out, the lights will turn on automatically for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Then make your way to the side, you will find body-colored power adjustable side mirrors with integrated blind spot mirrors for every single trim level. Premium trim is also going to give you heated side mirrors with integrated turn signals as well. And hiding underneath those side mirrors with the premium, you will also get pony projection lights, where at night it's going to project that Mustang logo onto the ground. Definitely a pretty cool feature there. But now let's zoom out a little bit, taking a look at the wheel setup. 17-inch aluminum alloys will come with the standard fastback. Premium is going to give you 18-inch aluminum alloy wheels. Performance pack is going to bump that up once again to 19 by 9-inch aluminum alloy wheels, and there are other options available. For instance, on the EcoBoost I have today, it does have the upgraded wheel and stripe package you guys have probably already already noticed, and that adds around $900 if you were interested. But like I said, there are a couple other options available as well. But now, making our way to the back on the EcoBoost, you will find a rear spoiler if you go with the premium trim level. Again, there is a larger rear spoiler if you go with the performance pack setup. Just below that, LED sequential taillights will come standard on every single trim level. Sequential meaning when you put the turn signals on, it's going to look like it's sliding from one side to the other. The Mustang's had this feature for quite a while, but it's definitely unique to the Mustang and a nice little feature back there. But just below all of that, you will find dual exhaust outlets with chrome tips, so you guys know what we have to do next. As always, here is that exhaust clip. Alright, so but now since we are around back, to open that rear trunk, you do have two options. You can either press the button on the key fob there twice, or just up top of the license plate there's a small little black button. If you press that, that's going to unlock the trunk as well. But either way, once opened up, cargo capacity is going to come in at 13.5 cubic feet for the fastback, 11.4 cubic feet if you go with a convertible. Either way, if that was not enough space for you, those rear seats do fold down. It is a 50-50 split, providing a little extra room if you needed it there. Then making our way up to the rear legroom, that is going to come in at an even 29 inches. So for reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. It is basically unusable for adults back there, better left to car seats or small children. Then making our way to the front seats, there are manually adjustable cloth seats that will come standard. Premium trim is going to give you power adjustable leather seats, and they will actually be heated and ventilated as well. And I did want to also mention there are Recaro bucket seats available. Plus side to them is you are going to get enhanced bolstering. So if you take turns a little faster than the average driver, they are going to be beneficial there. However, they are not heated or ventilated, so that's really the trade-off with those. But looking forward, there is a tilt and telescoping steering wheel. It is leather wrapped for every single trim level. And a fun little fact for you guys here, 2019 Mustang GT comes with a smooth leather. The 2019 Mustang EcoBoost comes with a texturized leather, just like the Mustang GT did from the years 2015 to 2017. So probably a useless fact to most, but I wanted to mention it there. Also, there is a heated steering wheel available with a 2-way package that adds around $2,200 there. But when it comes to the startup, let me first start by showing you guys the key here. You do have your Mustang logo on the one side as opposed to the Ford logo. That's nice. When you flip it over, lock, unlock, the button to pop the rear trunk, and that ×2 button in the middle there, that is a remote start, which, believe it or not, comes standard on every single trim level of the Mustang EcoBoost. So definitely nice there as well. Once started up, tachometer is going to be on your left, speedometer is on your right. There is a small digital display front and center. If you wanted to adjust what is on that digital display, there are steering wheel mounted controls on the right side of the steering wheel to do that. But you can check out your trip information. Of course, there's a digital speedometer available up there if you wanted it. But perhaps my favorite part about this digital speedometer setup up here is the section labeled track apps, which comes standard on every single Mustang EcoBoost. But here is where you're going to be able to record your G-force statistics. There's 0 to 60 time, quarter mile time, there's brake performance. You can also access that line lock feature I was telling you guys about. But I have played around with this plenty of times in my own Mustang GTs, see how quickly I can get to 60. It is definitely a quite fun feature worth trying out. But so then the next question about the gauges somebody is going to ask is the 12-inch LCD digital gauge setup. That one is going to come with a 201A package, which is available with the premium trim only. So if you wanted that full digital setup up there, that is how you were going to get it. But then taking a look at overall interior quality, one of my favorite parts about the Mustang interior is the Mustang insignia just above the passenger side glove box there. I always like that. Dual zone climate control is going to come with the premium trim levels. Premium trim is also going to give you aluminum foot pedals, a universal garage door opener, chrome door, speaker surrounds, and ambient lighting as well. That's definitely one I love playing around on my own Mustang. It makes it like a different car when you change up the colors at night. And another thing people always ask me about is there is no moonroof or sunroof available on the Mustang, basically because of the shape, I believe. Anyways, making our way to the tech setup on this one. Sync system is going to come standard on the Mustang Fastback. However, the Sync 3 system, which is the larger touchscreen display, that is going to come with the premium or the 101A package, which is what this base Fastback has today. But the 101A package, by the way, goes for an additional $2,000. But with either setup, you're going to get Bluetooth and audio streaming. However, Sync 3 is going to give you Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, meaning if you have a smartphone, simply hook it up to in the Mustang. And you can check out a free navigation system that you have up on that screen, as well as the ability to like and dislike your Pandora songs up there as well. If you went up in the Appalachian Mountains here in PA and you lost cell phone service, there is a factory navigation system available for an additional $800 there. You can also check out your climate control settings on the Sync 3 system up here as well. And of course, your radio information. And by the way, when it comes to the sound system on this one, 6 speakers are going to come standard across the Mustang EcoBoost. However, if you go with the premium or the 101A package that we have today, you will get a 9-speaker sound system. So you guys know what we have to do next. Let's turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. Alright, you guys, definitely a nice sound system. It's actually the same one I got my Mustang GT, so I can vouch for it. It is definitely nice. Plenty of bass, plenty of clarity, so I have no issues with that 9-speaker sound system. But then last thing on the tech display I wanted to mention is when you do put the Mustang in reverse, for every single trim level, you will get a rear view camera letting you know who or what is behind you, which is always going to lead me into safety. And so to start, there are front, side, and side curtain airbags, but also driver and passenger knee airbags as well. In the back, there is latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats. Also, a tire pressure monitoring system will come standard. And there is a safety package option as well called the Safe and Smart package that adds an additional $1,000, but that is going to give you adaptive cruise control, automatic high beam control, lane keep alert, pre-collision assist with pedestrian detection, and rain sensing windshield wipers as well, which I gotta say, that rain sensing windshield wipers is a pretty cool feature. I've driven plenty of cars with that, and it is nice not having to touch the windshield wiper button all the time because the car detects it for you. But anyways, with the 201A package for the premium trim, that one will also give you blind spot information system with rear cross traffic alert. And so, but anyways, that is about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe.
I'm in beautiful sunny Los Angeles on my way to the LA Auto Show,
which is one of the biggest auto shows worldwide and makes it the perfect place for the world premiere of the new Mercedes Maybach S-Class.
In just a little while, the car will come out from right there. It will be unveiled. And over here is the press section that is quickly filling up with excited journalists.
From the family of the S-Class, the highest quality vehicle in the world, comes a new level of handcrafted refinement, personalization and prestige. The all-new 2016 Mercedes Maybach
I'd like for you to point out
S600.
some of the features on this car that you love the most.
Yes, this is our Mercedes Maybach, the top in luxury. You can get the most exclusive car. The car is about 8 inches longer, so it's fairly stretched. We took a lot of effort to balance the car. Such a big car is hard to balance, so we created a new C-pillar, which is more upright, has more volume. Of course, the Maybach logo adorns. You see what an attention to detail here is with the 3-dimensional chrome that wraps around the entire glass areas. And so we create this ultimate in luxury here. The vision was to create a plastic-free interior, and we almost
The
managed. So
Mercedes
literally
Maybach
everything is
S16 will
covered
launch in
with leather.
America in
Back here, I
April
think it's a whole
2015
different
as
world
the
to be driven. This is what this
2016
car is
model.
for.
It will cost tens of thousands more than the 170,000 S60, but it will remain a very significant distance away from the stratospheric stickers of the former Maybach 57 and
That's it for me
62
here from Los
models.
Angeles. I'll see you next time.
It's a safe approach, but a sensible one, and one that remains respectful to the original Maybach brand. We think there will be quite a few ladies and gentlemen to whom the car will appeal.
Okay, here it is, the brand new.
The all-new 2016 Mercedes Maybach S600. Coming in April 2015, the Mercedes Maybach S600 takes the perfection of the S-Class and soars to new heights. The interior is 8 inches longer than the standard S-Class, and rear passengers will especially enjoy the generous legroom. Unparalleled comfort and sophistication awaits throughout, highlighted by hand-stitched Nepal leather throughout the interior, including the headliner, pillars and entire seats, with optional seat buttons, pillows and pillow stitching on the dashboard. All in all, the Mercedes Maybach will offer 7 unique designer interior packages to choose from. In the US, the new car will launch as the Mercedes Maybach S600, fitted with the same 6.0-liter twin turbocharged with 12 that powers the regular Mercedes-Benz S600. It makes 523 horsepower and 612 pounds-feet of torque, and viciously runs the car into an electronic governor at 155 miles per hour. Acceleration 62 miles per hour is said to take 5 seconds flat. Other markets will be offered the Mercedes Maybach in 8-cylinder as 550 and 6-cylinder as 400 forms. This including expensive and unique wraparound wood trim, Maybach logos on the seat pillar and embossed into the center armrest, with individually milled numbers, completed speaker grills and fiber optic ambient lighting. There is also Barmister CD surround sound tweeters in the rear doors that spiral towards passengers, and a pair of robe and beaking silver-plated champagne flutes. The rear seats both offer a full range of power adjustability, including a backrest that can be moved independently of the seat bottom, a massaging function, and powered calf supports. A footrest can be mounted out of the front passenger seat peg for sleeping or relaxing. Cooling and warming cup holders are available, as are articulated tables that unfold from the rear center console. The rear air nozzles are done in a wood finish. Put simply, the car is sumptuous without being garish. When one door closes, another opens, and welcome to the all-new 2016 Mercedes Maybach S600.
All right, guys, Tedward here for Winding Road Magazine. Today we have two very special turbo cars. We're going to start with this 911 Targa 4 GTS. Then we're going to move on to the 600 LT. Of course, this has basically the coolest mechanism in the business. We're going to start out with that, and then we're just going to go for a nice drive.
Hello everyone! Today in this video we are going to show you the top 10 most expensive production cars in the world. Notice that only cars which are still in production are included in the list. One-off special cars and cars sold in auction are not included in this list. Let's get started. Number 10. SSC Tuatara. Estimated price $1.5 to $1.8 million US. The SSC Tuatara is an American sports car produced by automobile manufacturer SSC North America. Production of the car began in 2019. SSC Tuatara has claimed top speed of 483 km per hour or 300 miles per hour. Production of the car will be limited to 100. Number 9. The Fenrir Supersport. Price $1.6 million US. The Fenrir Supersport is a Lebanese limited production sports car built by W Motors, a United Arab Emirates-based company. The manufacturer claims a top speed of 394 km per hour or 245 miles per hour. The Fenrir Supersport is the successor of the famous Lykan Hypersport. Number 8. Hennessy Venom F5. Price $1.7 million US. The Hennessy Venom F5 is an American high-performance sports car with a claimed top speed of 484 km an hour or 301 miles per hour. With the Venom F5, Hennessy intends to set a new benchmark in the world of high-performance cars. Hennessy planned to produce only 24 units of Venom F5. Number 7. Zenvo TS1 GT. Price $1.9 million US. The Zenvo TS1 GT is a Danish limited production sports car manufactured by automobile manufacturer Zenvo. Production of TS1 GT began in the year 2016. Zenvo claims an electronically limited top speed of 375 km per hour or 233 miles per hour. Number 6. Koenigsegg Regera. Price $2.1 million US. The Koenigsegg Regera is a limited production plug-in hybrid grand touring sports car manufactured by Swedish automotive manufacturer Koenigsegg. The Regera has a claimed electronically limited top speed of 410 km per hour or 255 miles per hour. Koenigsegg only plans to produce 80 units of the car. Number 5. Koenigsegg Jesko. Price $3 million US. The Koenigsegg Jesko is a Swedish limited production mid-engine sports car produced by automobile manufacturer Koenigsegg. The name Jesko is a tribute to the company founder's father, Jesko von Koenigsegg. Production of the Jesko will be limited to 125 units. The car has a claimed top speed of 483 km per hour or 300 miles per hour. Number 4. Aston Martin Valkyrie. Price $3.2 million US. The Aston Martin Valkyrie is a limited production hybrid sports car collaboratively built by British automobile manufacturer Aston Martin, Red Bull Racing, and several other manufacturers. Aston Martin Valkyrie is a track-oriented car entirely usable and enjoyable as a road car. The car's makers claim the title of fastest street-legal car in the world. The car's production is limited to 150 units only. The Aston Martin Valkyrie claims a top speed of 402 km per hour or 250 miles per hour. Number 3. Bugatti Chiron Sport. Price $3.4 million US. The Bugatti Chiron Sport is a French mid-engine two-seater sports car developed by automobile manufacturer Bugatti Automobiles. The Chiron's top speed is electronically limited to 420 km per hour or 261 miles per hour for safety reasons, mainly arising from the tires. Number 2. Pagani Huayra Roadster BC. Price $3.5 million US. The Pagani Huayra Roadster BC is an Italian mid-engine sports car produced by sports car manufacturer Pagani. The Huayra has a top speed of about 383 km per hour or 238 miles per hour. Production of the Huayra Roadster BC will be limited to 40 units only. Number 1. Lamborghini Sian FKP37. Price $3.6 million US. The Lamborghini Sian FKP37 is an Italian mid-engine hybrid sports car produced by the automobile manufacturer Lamborghini. Unveiled online on 3 September 2019, the Sian is the first hybrid production vehicle produced by Lamborghini. The car attains an electronically limited top speed of 350 km per hour or 217 miles per hour. Production of the Scion FKP37 will be limited to 63 units.